share building commissioner's duties in the event of temporary absences.
Move to approve.
Moving second, discussion.
What was the event or events that brought this about?
The event was Scotty Hill.
Okay.
And out several days, and there were a couple of occupancy permits that needed to be done quickly. And so we, once in a while, maybe once or twice a year, something like that will pop up. And we just thought, well, we should work out a deal with the county, and there's no money to either one. And if it came up, we'd have a backup that they wouldn't have to wait a week or whatever.
No, it's a great idea. I was just curious.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Request approval of the termination agreement with Angola First Development LLC per attachment.
Move to approve with the following requirement: the mayor may not sign the documents until the funds are assured in our possession.
Second. Moving second, discussion.
I'm only doing that just as good business practice. I have no reason to doubt that that will not happen.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Request approval of the agreement for services with EMAP LLC DBA Make My Move for the remote recruiting program in the amount of $86,000.
Second.
Moving seconded, discussion.
I just want to share that June and I had probably about a 90-minute meeting with Ben last week. I was very impressed. All my questions were answered. If you want any information about that, their analytics are absolutely phenomenal. And I can pass that to June, but I was very impressed with, absolutely in favor of this project.
Kathy, that was the one question that you had that you was
I had a lot.
most on you. What was the one that was most on your mind?
What was most on my mind? Well, I was curious as to how we might, knowing that childcare and housing is an issue, what the plan is there, what they've done in other communities. They are no longer a startup, but not very far out of that sphere, and I want to talk about that. I want to get a sense of their corporate philosophy. I want to make sure they were as committed to us as they are to their business growth. So it wasn't one question. It was just getting a feel of how they do their business.
You're very satisfied.
Very satisfied. If you don't mind, June, is there anything you would like to answer, add to that?
Dave, Kathy had a ton of questions. No, I am in agreement with you. They even showed a list of potentials for another city, explained how everything works. We discussed the parameters that should be put in place so that the people actually live in the city limits. I personally think this would be a great thing for us to partner with other towns in the county too. So I'm really interested to see how it works out, but I was pretty comfortable.
Good. Any other discussion?
Did you want to make this contingent on matching funds?
It's
It's a question, not a
Yes,
statement.
absolutely. I was assured the matching funds are available. There's no question about that. I wrote in chicken scratch somewhere how those were released. And there's every reason to believe that if we're satisfied, that the funds will be available, matching funds will be available should we do a second round. That second set of funds are not released until toward the end of the project after we've received the match. So I believe there was zero risk for the city.
The agreement actually, when I got the agreement from Ben, I looked through it, and at the very beginning of the agreement, the whole agreement's contingent upon getting the grant from the IDC. So if the grant funds, the next item is the approval of the application. If the application's not accepted and we don't receive the grant funds, then the agreement's.
Very good. Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Request approval of the grant agreement with the Indiana Economic Development Corporation for the remote worker recruiting program in the amount of $64,500.
So moved.
Move the second, the discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Next, we have Dr. Matt Winhofer, Superintendent of MSD, is going to talk about a program he'd like to see us become involved with.
Well, good afternoon. That's how the day's going. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members and guests here tonight. My name is Dr. Matt Wienhofer. I am the superintendent of MSD of Steuben County. I rise before you today to offer a partnership, an opportunity to partner with the city of Angola and the school district of MSD of Steuben County. As most of you know, if you do not know, MSD currently has 2 school resource officers. One of our resource officers, Officer Brad Scare, will be retiring at the end of the year. We are looking to fill that position. Currently, we have 2 Steuben County Sheriff's officers who serve in that capacity, but would love the opportunity to look and partner with the city and bring on a Angola Police Department. Before I go and answer any of your questions, I do just kind of want to go through. Oh. There we go. So you got me out of my own house here. So. One of the things I want to just talk about briefly today, kind of what is a school resource officer and what does that person do? As defined by the school resource officer is a career law enforcement officer with sworn authority deployed in community-oriented policing assigned by the employing police department. So currently right now we have 2 school resource officers who serve with the Steuben County Sheriff's Department. So we have what we call a memorandum of understanding with the Sheriff's Office, and we bring those 2 officers kind of into our buildings. The current rules for those, some of the things that when people hear about police officers in the buildings, they get a little skeptical, they get a little bit nervous. However, what I will tell you, one of the things that are always near and dear to educators, first and foremost, is the safety and well-being of all students and staff in their buildings. One of the things that the SRO does to ensure school safety serves in kind of many different things. Serves as a community resource, serves as a positive role model, provides law enforcement and police services, works with guidance counselors. We have several instances where kids, and you know you've made it to the big time as an SRO, when kids start bypassing teachers and principals and go right to the SRO and start having the conversation and say, hey, I have some things that are going on at home. My mom is kind of hurting me. My mom is doing this with my dad, or dad is doing this. Sometimes that's a great conversation to have with your school resource officer who can then go and kind of intervene the home. It is not for somebody just to put some cuffs on them and drag them out. It's really kind of be proactive and kind of work with families and kids. It's tough being a kid nowadays. And there are some challenges that kind of go with that. We're coming off of 2 years worth of COVID with kids and parents who are really kind of struggling with some of the things that are kind of going on in their daily lives. One of the things our SROs do is they work with kids just kind of on when they get ready to drive. If you get pulled over by a police officer, what should you do? Put your hands at 10 and 2 and don't move around a whole heck of a lot. Those are great conversations to have with kids. The best part of driving, going through, and I kid with the chief all the time, one of the favorite things I like to tell the kids when you get to hang out with the SRO, can I turn on the lights and sirens a little bit? You would be amazed on what a positive builder that is just to put those things on a little bit, and kids get excited.
They don't let the mayor do that.
They don't. I just got the fire chief on board, so I can't wait to take advantage of it. There is nothing neater than seeing 2 kindergartners hang on to Officer Lanou and Officer Scare's legs and walking them down the hallway like that because they are so excited to be able to see them. One of the other things is kind of putting safety plans together in the event that we should ever have an active shooter, and God forbid you'd like to say that it doesn't happen here. You never know. Talk to the people at Columbine, Paducah, Kentucky, Sandy Hook, some of those places. Being able to have some good quality law enforcement in those places. We go. Here's where the real value is. When you talk about a school resource officer, it really takes a special person, somebody who can really de-escalate. You got to know that sometimes teachers deal with this too, that kids come in and just are in a bad mood and it's just a different part of their day. And sometimes it's just about listening to kids and having that good conversation. Our SROs do a great job of building relationships, not only with parents, but with the kids and with community members. You'll see them at our football games. You'll see them at our basketball games. You'll see them at our kindergarten tea parties. Those are all important things where our officers can make an impact on it. A well-trained SRO can bridge gaps between youth and law enforcement, creating positive impressions. My job as superintendent is I have an obligation to educate every single student that comes through my doors. We do not want them expelled. We do not want them kicked out for truancy. They need to be in school. So part of those conversations is whether we're looking at our alternative school or how we term things that way, or whether we bring in our law enforcement folks who can kind of help and work with some of those kids. That's what we want to be able to do. First and foremost, our SROs are always there to make sure that we have a safe and secure building at all times. And again, we have two great guys who can kind of do it. Our building makeup for us is one high school. We have one middle school, 4 elementary schools, and 1 alternative school. Those are a bunch of physical buildings to kind of cover. Our total student population is around 2,500 kids with a total staff population, so around 3,000 kids. Right now, our 2 SROs are split amongst those 7 buildings who kind of travel and go throughout those things. I would love to have an SRO in every building. Unfortunately, I deal with the same thing you all deal with. It's the finances part of it. But I have a great police officer and chief and a sheriff who do lots of things. Say, doctor, we know for how can we serve you today? Hey, I really have an SRO who's going to be out today. Can you have some of your road officers really close? It is fantastic. Where I come from, I was in a high school that was out in the middle of the country. And to get any kind of police response time, it was at least 10 minutes before I had a first responder. With lights and sirens, that may get it down to about 5. Here in Angola, here's my nice thing. When I do need a first responder, I have somebody there within 1 or 2 minutes. But again, it's no substitute for having somebody in the building who can quickly de-escalate and take care of threats. It's also that good community piece, which is great. So I'm going to give you a great example. My partnership right now is with the sheriff's department. And one of the things is we have them contracted for about 185 days. The nice thing out of that 185 days that not all those days are we in service with kids. We do have snow delays. How nice is it when the sheriff says, Matt, can I have that officer out there because we're dealing with car wrecks and we have things on 69. I'm not using him, take him and go throughout that day. The one thing I know, and I know I'm the new kid on the block, is in the summer months around here, this turns into a very, very busy city. Especially, usually I don't have to wait for my coffee. Once in a while during the summer, I got to wait long lines. It's interesting. The sheriff has very much appreciated being able to have an extra officer to take care of some of those things during the summer. So it has been a great cooperative leadership. Our council members for the county have been excited about it and pleased with it. The commissioners have been excited about it. So we're coming to you today with that same proposal that I've offered with our county. I would love to do something with the city. You want to talk about growing a city and bringing everybody together and collaborating resources. What a great way to collaborate those and look at those resources when you bring the county, the city, and the school district all together. That work? I try to give it to you in a nutshell because I know you have a busy night.
That's pretty plain. We were in favor of SRO way back when we started it and were involved in it. I think it'd be a great idea for us to be in there. I'm probably 200% more in favor of the things that are going on these days. Like you say, you don't expect it. There's absolutely no reason we shouldn't expect it.
One of my backgrounds, other than having my doctorate, but I also have a school safety specialist license. That's part of Indiana has school specialists. I was one of those first classes, so school safety is near and dear to my heart on some of those things. We have done some massive improvements. We put things like halos in our buildings. Those are vape detectors to kind of take care of that, because if you notice, if you read in the newspaper, those are one of the growing threats that we have. We added a secondary SRO, and then we've also done secure door entrances where parents, you have to buzz to get in there. We don't let you roam around the building, and we kind of keep you in that small area. So that's just another way that we're keeping kids safe. So it's an interesting world that we live in, and I don't take safety lightly. So that's why it's a huge commitment from our school board to have two, and they are on board with it. We're looking to continue that partnership with you all if you're interested.
I think what we need to do is get an MOU together. I think that's the way we did it last time. I don't know how you do it with the sheriff and then take it to the Board of Works. I think it's what Kim thought.
Yeah.
Kim is our attorney and I understand he's your attorney.
He is. It makes things a little easier.
So, well, you know, you may get in an argument with him, so figure it out ways, but yeah.
We have a member of understanding with the county commissioners and their council, so we have one all ready to go. It would be very similar if that's the place that you choose to go. We would do something very similar to that. So, but it's something that our attorney looks over, and then your attorney does the same thing as well and goes through it. Again, double whammy for you. But it's been a great working relationship. And I would say if you have questions or concerns, reach out to a commissioner, talk to those folks, or even talk to the sheriff himself. I think you'll find it's been a great compliment. It's really kind of helped our school really brings the kids together a little bit and really kind of, you can't go out in the park and you can't just go do what you want to do. You need to be in school, and we're enforcing that through our attendance policies with our SROs and with our administrators.
Chief Whitmire, I think everybody probably guesses what your opinion is on this, but I think it'd be good if you just stated it anyway.
I am 100% in it. You know, Matt and I have met several times in regards to this situation, and just having another one of our officers back in the schools, sort of complementing that and buddying with the sheriff's department. Right now with the sheriff's department, it's just the nature of the beast. There's not a lot of communication that goes between the sheriff's department and the city police department on the things that go on in the school every day. You know, important things, they'll hit us up, but having another officer back in the school communicating between the two different departments, we're going to be able to expand on everything that we know that is taking place. And Matt is not kidding. When we did have a officer in the school, we were always ahead of the ball. It seems like we're sort of behind the 8 ball right now, even though sometimes we're given a heads up by Brad or Bill. There's still some gap there, and getting another officer and sort of just being a partnership with the entire group would be a very good move on our part. This would be an additional officer, not taking from, we would take from the current road staff. So it would be somebody who has experience, that has been around the block. We're not going to put another new officer into a school. But we wouldn't want to replace that person. So.
And it's my understanding if some really bad emergency happened, you have no problem with them leaving and the school and helping.
I'll tell you a little bit about my experience in my last school. My guy was a K-9 officer and a SWAT officer, and part of that department policy is they get K-9 training days and SWAT days. So one of the things that I always ask the officers sometimes the lieutenant would come and sit in my building, whoever that supervising officer. I know this guy, if I would really call him and say, hey, I'm really in a pinch, he would drop what he's doing and come in our buildings and kind of help out a little bit. If you had a huge bank robbery where we had all hands on deck, boom, those SROs are leaving. We will be okay. And I feel quite confident in kind of what we have in our buildings to be able to do that. So it's that mutual cooperation back and forth and kind of where's the national emergency that we need to take care of at that particular time.
Okay. Any questions?
Chief, how long has it been since we've had an SRO in the school system? City? You know?
The
10
sheriff has had it for 4 years.
More than that, isn't it?
I'm trying to think.
More than that too.
I don't know right off the top of my
I've
head.
been at my work at the county for almost 10 years, and I think it's always been the county officer.
Hasn't been that long because
Wouldn't
we've had
Chambers.
What was that?
Officer Chambers
How long
was,
ago was that?
Rust was the last
Oh,
one.
it was in there.
Russ was the
I don't
last
remember
one.
Boyd
I
ever
believe.
doing it.
He was
Going
gone
in for
in
somebody.
2014. So that would have been 8 years ago. Yeah.
I do know that, I'm sure we're all in favor of this, but I remember being old and retired now. I can keep it up. That before having the SRO and then now having SRO, now you have two. It's just amazing. My one question too is, when I was still teaching, there was county and city policemen still just walking the halls. Are you still planning on continuing to do that?
Correct.
That was really nice
Right.
because it was just random. It was just all of a sudden, here comes, an officer. That was fantastic because maybe second hour, maybe lunch, and maybe fifth hour.
I think they did that time permitting.
But that was, as long as we're gonna do that, I still think that's a great idea too.
Well, I'm going to try to do something else. I've already spoke to the mayor about it, and I'll approach council about it another time. But because the money that he's using is taking away from some of the part-time staff that we would have go into the schools. So in order to help out with that, I have a few other ideas that I would like to present to you. Just so we can get more officers in the school, because they're investing about 120K in the program. And I think it's justified for us to invest a little bit, even though the investment of a single officer would be awesome if we could sort of help out with additional help throughout the week. Maybe not every day of the week, but a few days here and there. I think it would be an awesome benefit for the community as a whole.
I think you underestimated, so you guys are really great. I think they're really, really fantastic out there. I mean, you can't say enough for those guys because my students were always talking to somebody. They were always talking to somebody. Then we had a couple incidents before I left, and Johnny on the spot, they took care of it.
You know, many of our Angola families are state troopers or they're conservation officers. You know, unfortunately, during March and April, those seem to be the most critical months when things seem to happen around the world. These guys have done a great job of just stepping it up and saying, hey, part of your road duty today is being here at the school. Or we'll have our conservation officers say, hey, can we provide a little bit of extra care today? Because, you know, it's school award stuff. We're here to help you. State troopers will do. So this community has been very open and welcoming and making sure that our kids are safe and putting themselves out there. So we appreciate it.
And just an additional thing, is there a week goes by, there's not a wreck out there right at the stoplight. And they're right there.
There's usually something happening.
Something's right there. And so, so
We're working on that.
no. I talk to NDOT a lot. But there would have the SR guys, they're right there too.
So Matt, you've been at some of the meetings that we hold through JDAI. And I think you are becoming aware that at a state level and actually at a national level, there's been a 180 with how juveniles are treated and processed and supported through the system. So in Steuben County Circuit Court, Prosecutor's Office, probation, and the work that I do is really about holding kids accountable, but not pulling them into the system unless we have to.
Correct.
So, and I realize at the end of the day, this would not be your call, but and Brad's care has been wonderful. But it's really essential that we have your SROs at the JDI table because there are so many changes, and I know there's frustration, but unless we're all talking, nobody's aware of it.
You go back to, you make a great point on some of those things, you know, what we have to realize is that kids now, and I'm going to use my high school kids here, not every one of those is a traditional high school kid.
Right.
Meaning they can't sit there for 7 periods a day in that classroom in those chairs. Some kids need to be out moving, doing some job shadowing, which has really helped our business community. Some of them, hey, I got to get to trying for some of those dual credit classes. One of the things that we started is our alternative program,
right,
where it's really kind of a combination of all of those things. And what we've seen is some kids really kind of do some 180s and get squared away. What we don't want them is, hey, they're just at home not doing anything, and then that seems to cause more problems. So the more that we can engage them in our schools and some of the things that we have available, it's been great. That's where our SROs have been really impactful in some of those things and being able to have some of those conversations. Some of our SROs have been engaged 7, 8 o'clock at night with parents at their homes just because it's amazing. It's amazing where they can just have a quick conversation like, oh, finally, Officer Scare here. I can talk to him.
Right.
And it's amazing how much they de-escalate and they're ready to go the next day. So I can't tell you how impactful it is. It has been a great partnership. What I will also tell you is my sheriff is always going, if the city doesn't want to do it, you come right back to me. And I said, hold on, Sheriff. I need some city support here. So that's why we're here in front of you today to really kind of pitch those ideas, because that's where I think it's very impactful. It's important to have. So
I think it's good for kids to see police officers in a setting and not in a bad situation.
Positive
Crisis situation,
setting.
exactly
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
So we will, any other questions? Okay, we shall move forward then.
Thank you very much for your
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you very much.
Now, Matt, here's the good news and the bad news. And they're all the same. I'm about ready to give the state of the city. So you are welcome to leave because I know you got somewhat of a drive home, or if you need a nap before you go.
Mayor, I love you, but I got my own board meeting tomorrow. I expect to see you all for that.
Okay, thank you.
See you. Thank you very much.
Okay, tonight is my 22nd and last State of the City speech. If I were to tell you I wasn't doing it without mixed emotions, I'd be lying to you. But as I've said before, every year has been different. Every year has had its own challenges, and every year has had its rewards. And 2022 was no different. Over the years, together, we have been able to create a better quality of place for our citizens by wisely investing their tax dollars into the many projects that we take on each year. And at the same time, together, we have been able to put the city in a strong financial position. Our clerk treasurer, Ryan Herbert, is reporting that as of December 31st, 2022, the city has a checking and cash balance of $7,574,724.81. I carry on the cents tradition from Deb for you. And money market accounts were $20,116,531.52 for a total of $27,691,256.33. Included in those numbers are the rainy day fund, which has $1,500,000, and the major moves fund that has a balance of $2,707,771.92. This puts us in very good shape with funds that can be used for economic development, project opportunities that come our way, and emergency funding in case of a natural disaster. I want to once again thank our department heads and city employees for the outstanding job they all do year after year in taking such great care of our city. And as I said last year, our department heads and city employees have this attitude and work ethic that says, good enough is just not good enough. They work every day in their different departments to make life better for the citizens of Angola, as well as those who are visiting our community. 2022 has some challenges, such as the tail end of the pandemic and the increase in inflation, but that did not stop the continuing growth in our community. Building Commissioner and Fire Marshal Scott Lehman is reporting that 163 new construction permits were issued in 2022. That is an increase of 16 permits from 2021. The new construction dollar amount for 2022 was $55,824,873. This is an increase of $19,220,667 from 2021. This is a record for the city of Angola. The previous high amount was $44,787,871, and that was back in 2013. Over the last 17 years, Site Selection Magazine has rated Angola in the top 100 micropolitan communities in the whole United States for 15 of those years. This award is given to communities with a population that is under 50,000 and is based on economic development projects in that area. In 2022, it was announced that we had tied for 10th place nationwide for the 2021 year. And I expect that we will again be named a top micropolitan economic area for 2022 when they announce them this coming March. The increase in new construction permits also created more activity for our Department of Economic Development and Planning. This increased workload brought several changes to the department. They work with permitting and the marketing of our city. Also, the Plan Commission, Board of Zoning Appeals, Historic Preservation Commission, the Redevelopment Commission, Economic Development Commission, Angola Main Street, Mayor's Art Council, the Annual Cruise to the Monument, Early Childhood Learning Task Force, the Mayor's representative on the Steuben County Economic Development Board, and the Angola Investment Fund. With all of these responsibilities, our new director, Jennifer Barkley, has made some changes in her staff. Rita Hicks is now the permitting coordinator, and Brett Steele has been added as the city planner. Jennifer is also looking to have someone fill the Main Streets coordinator's position. Together, they are working to streamline the department functions and still provide excellent customer service. And the Angola Parks and Recreation staff are busy all year round with many new activities. Thousands of people utilized our parks, park pavilions, Friendship Park and Commons Hall, and 20 scheduled events were held with 56 businesses partnering with the park to help make these events free. The Park Board and the City of Angola are excited to partner with the YMCA, Steuben County government, as well as many businesses and individuals to move forward with the funding of the Sheets Family Park that will be located in front of the Y. The late Chuck Sheets and his family donated the land to build this park. It will include pickleball courts, a splash pad, an all-inclusive playground area, and a pavilion. This will be located right next to our bike and walking trail. The Parks Department and Park Board are planning for 2023 events that will help people utilize our parks even more. Among those plans are the development and open access to the Center Lakes property donated to the city. This is the last project that former Mayor Bill Selman wanted completed, and this finishes his bucket list of things that he wanted me to finish for him. The City of Angola Police Department is also growing. This is also caused by the growth of our city, and we have 19 full-time officers, 4 full-time dispatchers, 4 full-time crossing guards, 3 K-9 units, and several part-time officers, part-time dispatchers, and crossing guards. Police officers are required to have a minimum of 24 hours of training each year. And in 2022, our full-time police officers completed 1,794 and a half hours of training, and the part-time and reserve officers received 87 hours. Our officers are well-trained in all aspects of their jobs, as well as all of our city employees in each of our departments. This training is so important as it is for the safety of both the public and our employees. Nate Armstrong, our IT department head, is also extremely busy. He works with every department in the city and has many projects going on with each department. And instead of going into all of those things he is involved with, I want to give you one number: 2.67 million. 2.67 million is the number of events per month that are malicious attacks in nature on our computer system. And this is down from 2021. These could be hacking, ransomware, threats, or other related activity like port scans on our security system, looking for potential security gaps. Most of these attacks originate from the US, Russia, Eastern Europe, North Korea, Africa, and China. Unfortunately, communities our size all around the state are attractive to computer hackers. It is very prevalent with ransomware, hacking, and other forms of computer attacks. We are fortunate that these threats to our security have not been breached. Our Angola Fire Department has undergone several changes in the past year. In July, we hired a new fire chief. Chief Doug Call has joined us from New Haven. He has already made several changes in this department. This department had 1,747 calls in 2022, and that is an average of 5 incidents per day in the 100 square miles that our department covers. And through some rearranging of duties and adding personnel, we now have 16 full-time fire personnel. This helps better this staff for this department for the safety of the public as well as our firefighters. All of our other departments, including street, engineering, water, and wastewater, have all experienced growth in their workload due to the city's growth. Retirements, along with the growth of our city, create some interesting challenges. And hopefully you have taken the time to read all of our departments' end-of-the-year reports. They do a great job in putting these together. They give you a roadmap as to where their department has been and what their projects and needs for the future will entail. One problem that the city of Angola is facing is that inflation is affecting everything from the cost of vehicles, blacktop for our streets, equipment for our different vehicles and departments, and salaries of our employees, as well as training for all of our departments and much more. Another concern is having enough housing so that people can live here and work here. Our unemployment rate is below 2%, and that is great, except the last I heard is there are over 900 jobs available in Steuben County and not enough people to fill those jobs. We cannot fill these jobs if we do not have workers available to move into our county because of housing. This is a problem that most communities have in our country. Another challenge is the health of our state's population and the education of our workforce. The state of Indiana is in the top 5 states as far as low taxes for businesses and industry. This attracts new businesses to the state. But the state of Indiana is also in the bottom 5 or 10 states in both the health of its citizens and the education of its workforce, depending on which survey you might be looking at. We are very fortunate to have exemplary schools in our city and county, as well as Trine University. Trine University brings a whole different dimension to our city with its over 40 different majors and the diversity it brings to our city. We also are very fortunate to have Cameron Memorial Community Hospital and the excellent doctors, nurses, and staff that are in our community. We are working with several groups to get more early training or early learning and childcare in our city and county. I, like everyone else, do not want to pay any more taxes than I need to. The taxes are our investment in our streets, highways, economic development, public health and safety, our educational system, and much more. Our state legislature talks about how we need to grow the population in Indiana, especially in our smaller cities. We are asked to work on making our communities better, especially in our smaller cities. We are asked to work on making our communities a better quality of place to live. We are asked to help with mental health problems that is invading our state and communities that has largely been caused by the isolation that came with the pandemic. We are asked to be more involved monetarily with the economic development. We are asked to do more with our police and fire department personnel to give them better training. We are asked to help broaden and strengthen early learning and childcare in our community. We are asked to help make our workforce more viable through the different training programs the state offers. And they are right in that we should be involved in supporting all of these initiatives. But to be involved in all of these programs and projects, we need to make sure that when we start a long-term program, that it can, number one, fully meet those needs, and number two, it will be sustainable. And that is more than just a little difficult if they keep cutting taxes, which, like it or not, is our revenue stream. It really is not going to help us to try and put these programs together if we cannot afford to do them correctly and make them sustainable. Some industries and businesses have shown that they are willing to partner and help financially to get these programs started, which should help with some of the funding that is needed. The reality is that it is going to take all of us to make these proposals a reality. At the same time, we will need to be working on getting our salaries for municipal employees where they need to be. The people who work for this city of Angola deserve to have the paychecks that will allow them to support their families. They all work hard for this city, and we owe them a competitive wage and benefits. For years, when we would have a job opening, we would have 10 to 20 good applicants for these jobs. Today, we are fortunate to get 3 to 5 applicants. The wages in the private sector have become much more competitive, which will make it more difficult for us to find good employees. Another situation we are facing is the future availability of natural gas to our homes, businesses, and industries. This was a problem that we first heard about around 2015. We were told at that time that Angola would not have a problem with our future growth because NIPSCO engineers were working on the situation and would have the problem fixed before we would be facing this problem. The problem is not one where there is a shortage of natural gas resources. The problem is that the gas lines in place are full and cannot push through any more gas. Bigger lines need to be put into place. Over the years, we kept asking about getting this remedied, and we kept getting told the situation was being worked on. Angola, Fremont, Hamilton, Ashley, STEUBEN County, and NIPSCO have had several meetings over the years. A couple of years ago, NIPSCO reported that the problem was getting worse, and that is when they talked about how it was going to cost several $1 million to fix the problem. They also mentioned that they expected the different communities in Steuben County government would need to be involved financially. Since that time, NIFCO has given us several possible options as to how this could be fixed, along with the estimates of the total cost. But we have not heard anything definite as to which proposal would work best and what they would expect local units of government to pay. And this last November, we found out that the new local then this past November, we found out that the new addition of Best Hall at Trine University and the new Steuben County Judicial Center were going to have to come up with a total of over $400,000 to be able to get enough gas that they needed to cover their projects. So a problem that no one ever dreamed would happen in our county and our different communities raised its ugly head. Isaac Lee, who we are very fortunate to have as the Steuben County Economic Development Director, and the elected officials in the county and different communities are working very hard to come up with a solution to this problem. But we still have not figured out how a utility that has a monopoly on such an important resource like our natural gas cannot be held responsible for the planning of our future growth. But these problems also create opportunities for all of us. When we get the housing and the natural gas supply problems taken care of, then we can once again concentrate on our economic development growth to bring in more higher paying jobs, as well as doing projects that increase the quality of life for our residents, help create more job opportunities for our workforce, and help our businesses and industry have a more qualified and better educated workforce. On January 1st of 2001, none of us currently elected officials were in the positions we hold now. None of you in our audience tonight that are department heads were holding the positions back then that you now have. Many of us have, however, been in our positions for many years. So hopefully, to those that have been here a while, you can look at where our city is today and be proud of the many projects you have been involved with over the years that are making they're making our city a better place for all to live, work, and to play. To those who have been involved for a shorter time, I hope that you are excited to be a part of this city's future and a big part of you have had in making our city better. Whether you are a mayor, city council member, department head, or an employee in one of our departments, you are an important part of our community. And in the end, we are all employees of the city of Angola. I believe that because we have different titles, it does not make any one of us any more important to the city than any other employee. And that includes the mayor. And I am proud of all of you, and you will always have a special place in my life and my heart. 2024 will be a big change in our governance, with at least 3 new council members and a new mayor. Hopefully, those who will be elected will quickly understand that their jobs will not be to spend taxpayers' money, but to invest their tax dollars in such a way that makes our city better for those that live and work here. Over at least the last 22 years, our city council, clerk treasurer, and mayor have never had arguments over political ideology. We've had disagreements sometimes about how to solve certain problems, and that is how it should be. We are not elected to be yes people, nor are we elected to sit on our hands and do nothing. We were elected to come up with ideas as to how we can each best serve this great community and make it better every day for those that live and work here. So to those council people who may be remaining on the council, your leadership will be greatly needed. To those who will be newly elected to those positions, I urge you to listen to our city department heads and our city employees, those returning to council and our clerk treasurers, so they can help you learn and understand your new roles. Each and every job has its own responsibilities. Learn what they are and do not overreach your own job description. And please do not micromanage our department heads. Support them. So as I have stated, the city of Angola has had a great year. And besides what I have spoken to you about, we have a new 90-unit apartment complex that will break ground this spring. We have 3 other developments that we hope will get started sometime this year yet. And I've had a couple of industries wanting to make expansions. When this gas supply problem gets taken care of, our bright future will be endless. And I envy those of you that will be a part of this. Now, my wife is sitting back here. I hope to get to this. I asked her to be here tonight to hear the speech, since it's my last one. But what I want to do is thank you for your support publicly. You're a great wife, great mom, great grandma. And a person can't do this job unless their spouse is 100% behind them. She didn't sign up for this. She's reminded me that a couple of times. And her job is to keep me humble, which she enjoys way too much. And the way she subtly put it to me, about 6 months into my job here, I came home one night, must have been a little too chatty. And many of you heard this story, but what she did was she said, Dick, you need to remember one thing. You walk through that front door, you're not the mayor here. I don't remember what I said. I don't remember what I said to her before that, but I've always remembered that remark. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Oh, I'm gonna do that.
Mayor,
Okay, yes.
just a few words. I'm Mary Martin. I'm Regional Director for Senator Mike Braun. On behalf of Senator Braun, we want to just thank you for your years of service. I know we have about 7 months to go yet, but it's been a pleasure to have you in that seat. And I personally want to thank you. When I took this job, I pretty much didn't know anything. And one day he said, get your jeans on, get your stompers on, and I'm going to show you what happens when you flush your toilet and you turn your shower on. And after 4 hours later, I got a complete understanding of how that works. So I want to personally thank you.
Thank you. Wow, thank you. Well, I just want to thank you all for, making this community better. Working together to make dreams a reality, and I hope everybody understands that no matter who you are or where you're at and your life's experiences, you are welcome here. And I hope that carries on. I'm sure it will. This is a great community. So I thank you all, because not one of us did it, all of us did it together. Thank you. So, thank you, Mary. You were done it just like I wrote it. So. Of course, quick figure. Okay, Kim?
I have no report, Mr. Mayor.
Jennifer?
No report, sir.
Chad?
No report, Mayor.
Man?
No report, Mayor.
Congratulations on the letter. I got a copy from Jake. They love you down there at the parks, as you know, and doing a great job. But it's always nice to have them send a letter or something like that showing their appreciation. So, looking around, Chief.
I have nothing, sir.
Chief.
No report, sir.
Leanne.
Hi.
Who are you?
I'm Erin Dove, the Regional Director for Senator Young. So I would like to thank you for everything too. I've enjoyed getting to know you and seeing you at all the Northern Indiana Mayor Roundtable events. And just when I came to Angola and meet with you, it was one of my highlights of my first year last year. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Amanda,
No report.
you got anything, Nate?
Just really quickly, RFQ is out for a website overhaul. Bids are due March 17th, 4 p.m. It's a project Jennifer and I are working on together. Any questions on that, please let one of us know. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Request approval of allowance accounts payable vouchers, 61,383 to 61,606 totaling $713,062.65, which includes interfund transfers of $94,007.19.
Second.
Been and seconded, discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. Okay, is there any other new business? You're okay, if there is none. Next council meeting is Monday, March. Thank you all. Agreed.
I need,
It's like, talking, but not.